All right, everybody. Welcome back to Along the Watchtower. This is a podcast where we talk about everything. Well, really, right now we're just talking about politics, a little bit of money news today, a little bit of legal news sometimes now and again. But we're working our way through things right now. There's a lot going on that are really important, at least to me, and I would think important to you as well, seeing as how you live on the planet. So, yeah, I'm going to kind of blend the monologue into what some of the things we're going to talk about today. Um, I know you're just like, yo, why is this dude always clearing his throat on the air? I don't know, because I suck. Anyway, so Robinhood, Webull, TD Ameritrade, all of the brokerage apps restricted trading during the day today. And what it is, okay. So, all right, let me back up. Let me back up. For those of you who are unaware right now, Wall Street, a lot of hedge fund managers, a lot of individual large scale whale brokers are pissing themselves because they took large short positions against companies that are going by the wayside because they're like brick and mortar stores, or in the case of AMC, no one's going to theaters. We heard AMC was going to go into bankruptcy, thinking about declaring bankruptcy. So what is a short position? All right. So before I continue, by no means is this any financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. I am merely an interested novice, an amateur, looking to understand what financial wealth is and to give myself a better financial education. That being said, a short position, or a short seller in this case, is someone who borrows stock from a security, from terminology. Security is a stock. Okay, anything can be a stock. They call those stocks securities. All right. For instance, they call them by many things, but in this case, they're securities. So they borrow a stock from security, and they sell it immediately on the market. Right. They do this with the idea in mind that the stock's price will go down tremendously, because the further down it goes, the more profit they make. Why, you ask? Well, what happens is they borrow the stock, sell it on the market, wait for the stock to drop. In the case of GameStop, it's a brick and mortar store that was going by the wayside. Up until recently, because of the console wars, nobody thought that they were going to thrive in it, let alone survive. They didn't think they were going to survive, let alone thrive, and they did. But they're still going out the door. People really, especially in a time where most stores aren't open, are looking to take their business online, and online distribution is really taken over. Everybody does everything online. Not only just physical copies, but digital copies now are really the thing. You get a large hard drive with digital copy. You never have to worry about having a physical library. That being said, the larger and larger short positions were taken against GameStop, okay? And so much so that they ended up, them and AMC and some others, ended up being the largest shorted security on the market. So what ends up happening is these people who take out these short positions simultaneously, and some of them are actual institutions. They are large media institutions that are short sellers. So they shit talk a stock while taking and borrowing against the stock while shit talking it. So they're hoping that it goes down and encouraging it to do so by shit talking it all day long. It's completely unfair and ass backwards, because they're a large scale financial media institute. Oh my God, well, they got to know what they're talking about. I'm not gonna buy that, or I'm gonna sell out, and then down it goes, and then they money in their pocket. They've been doing this for years, decades. So the market works. So along comes Wall Street Bets. It's a Reddit forum where traders. You presume most people there are traders. I don't know. There's no way to know. Where Redditors call themselves autists, referring to autism. So they're calling themselves autistic because a lot of the time they they encourage meme stocks, they call it, which is what it's called. Or basically they just encourage people to buy stocks, or they YOLO bet, and they just make large investments into stocks just because. No real reason, really, just because they whatever. And so they get together and figure, these guys have been doing this. They've been shorting legit companies, and they've been shorting companies that have been trying to keep afloat. And then they've been outright targeting people and shorting them aggressively. And they've been making a killing. We want some money too. And there's nothing to say that we can't do the same. Because what ends up happening is, if the stock ends up going up, they have to do two things. they have to hedge their bets against the stock, right? Why? Why do you say? Because as the stock goes up, they will have to at some point buy back that stock and give it back to the security. So the higher that stock goes, the more money they will have to fork out, and the higher their losses will be, right? So there's also two things happening. There's something called options. Options are basically like rolling the dice. You basically, if you own shares of a stock, you can put out a contract that says, okay, for a premium of $1 per bundle of 100 shares, you can have a contract that says if the price of this stock doesn't hit this or above, then you have to buy these bundles of 100 shares that I'm giving you. But if it hits this or above, I have to pay you for this contract. It's the weirdest thing in the world. So you're basically, it's a contract for the right to buy the stock at a particular what's called strike price that you agree with for the owner of said shares of stock. It's the strangest, but basically it's gambling to a degree, because there's things called the Greeks, theta, delta, gamma, which are their units of measurement. Theta, for example, is of time. So you look at an option that has a good theta, really, which is, okay, so the theta, the numeric value of a theta is the amount of cents from the strike price that an option loses every day as it gets towards the closing day, because each option expires at a particular time. So what's happening right now is short sellers are being screwed, and people who have forked out call contracts. So a bunch of guys not only buy shares, but buy a bunch of call contracts saying, I think that AMC, for example, is going to be above 10 by the end of market on Friday. And I'm going to buy 1,000 of these. Back when AMC was $2.50, I'm going to buy hundreds of thousands of these at the I'm going to buy them at 50 cents a contract, right? 50 cents times 100, right? It's not $50, it's $5, right? So ideally they'd probably be $1. So you buy 50 of these contracts for $50, and then all of a sudden AMC spikes to 20, right? Then the guy who signed the contracts, who owns the shares, who created the deal in the first place, has to fork out money. So they're being screwed on both ends. And so that's basically what happens. And so what these short sellers then do is they then call their government buddies, and these government buddies, they get on CNBC, MSNBC, and like, oh my God, we don't know if there's foreign influence. It could be Russia, because anytime anything goes wrong and against the establishment politically, financially, or otherwise, it's got to be Russian influence. It's Russia. We don't know because it's unregulated. Yes, Reddit is Reddit is a board. It's a message board basically, and it's already moderated. They've already gone through tons and tons of litigation. They've already been down that road. Nothing that's happening here is illegal. But your friends and you money makers, you whales, they've been screwing the market and screwing over securities for decades and decades in this exact same fashion, are now losing billions. $70 billion have been removed from these guys' pockets collectively. And so now it goes even further. I was reading Twitter, right? It's like, the White House is looking at the GameStop AMC situation. Hedge funds are getting meme stock managers, so they're watching stocks. And all meme stocks are basically the most shorted stocks on the market. If you take a look at a scanner, right, a stock scanner, you set the setting to the most traded stocks for the day, like stocks with the highest volume of shares traded for the day, and you look at the highest shorted stocks on the market right now, the top 10 are the same. All they're doing is looking at the stocks that these assholes have been shitting on while taking positions on a stock that says, hey, I bet this stock's going to go down. Then they walk outside and say, hey, this stock sucks, don't buy it. It's like, dude, what the hell? Are you telling me that's not a conflict of interest? That's not cheating at all? So all these cats on Reddit did was get together and say, yo, buy this stock. That's literally all anyone is doing is buying the stock. That's it. There's nothing more as an individual. They call them retail investors. There's nothing more as a retail investor you can do except buy the stock. That's it. So you know what these guys did? They went now they got their Wall Street friends, their White House friends on it. People are on the TV. Oh my God, we gotta regulate this, blah, 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 blah. Even though all that's happening is just a bunch of people are buying something. That's it. This is a people power. This is again a prime example of what happens collectively. And I've been saying this since, well, basically I've been saying this all my life, but I've been saying this on the show since I started in November. People underestimate the power of themselves. What collectively can happen when you have a conversation, you communicate amongst each other and work towards a collective goal. They crushed these people. Within 2 days, $70 billion has been ripped from their pockets. So you know what they did? They actually had the audacity to go to Robinhood, to go to Webull, to go to all of these trading apps, these brokerage applications. This is what I started out with at the top of the show. And they told them to restrict people from being able to buy the stock. Oh, you can sell your position, give your shares back, give your shares away so that stock continues to drop so that the short sellers get what they want because, oh my God, I'm losing billions, even though God knows how many billions you've made shitting all over everyone on the market. Individual retail investors who put their money into a stock because they believe in its fundamentals lose out because short sellers with deep pockets and a lot of connections and interest in the stock going down successfully get it to go down. So Robinhood and Webull and all these brokerage apps prevent people from being able to purchase shares, which is all they're trying to do. It's all they can do is simply do what they've been doing, except now they're all doing it for the stocks that the big guys don't want them to do it for. That's simply all that's happening. Right down at its core. Oh my God, these so autists on Reddit are now buying the stocks that I need to go down. I'm losing money. Hey guys, can you shut it down? Can you stop it now? And this went all the way to the White House. And that's what that, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me. We look back at cases, for example, of donations, and Biden had, the highest amount of private donations from equity firms and private investors on Wall Street than any other candidate in the campaign. So, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. We knew this was coming. I still haven't shown you the clip of that professor, Didong Chang, right? Didong Chang, I believe his name is. I'll get around to that one of these days. But that is my monologue. That is my rant. That's what's been going on. Is that it is a fight it is a David and Goliath situation, the likes of which I haven't seen in my lifetime since like the anti-war movement. I keep going back to post 9/11 because after 9/11 there was a unifying fervor that had swept the nation, and you saw a collective disdain for something. We only come together when we want to hate something. We can write tales of shooting for the moon and of eradicating fascism. But even during times like those, we were fractured. But I digress. It's fine. That's what's happening with Robinhood. So I can skip these articles, but. That being said, please like, share, and subscribe if you dig what I'm doing. Like I say every day, we're getting better all the time. What can I do? We're gonna try to do it. We're gonna try to do it bigger, better, fancier. And yeah, let's get into it. Let's see. So I know that I haven't gotten to COVID news in a while because that was really. I mean, it's all overwhelming, really. I mean, look at this itinerary, man. For the listeners, obviously you can't see, but something like 30, 40 articles, whatever. But we can skip the Robinhood stuff. But I did want to highlight this, right? Because again, at the end of the day, all retail investors are doing is literally just buying the stock. They're buying call options. They're buying the stock. That's supporting the stock. Obviously, for the case of AMC. Right. So AMC is in a similar situation. Like I said, it's just they're going after the most shorted stocks on the market. So AMC, which was at risk of bankruptcy, reads Yahoo, even before the pandemic became a target because amateur traders online were looking to influence stocks that were heavily shorted, says an analyst, Eric Wold, who covers AMC Entertainment. However, there was an injection of long-term confidence when they secured $917 million in financing, enough to get the struggling cinema chain through the ongoing coronavirus crisis. Right. So since the stock is currently trading well above pre-pandemic levels, it was at 250. AMC and investor Silver Lake, a private equity firm, have used the tumult to their advantage. AMC said Thursday that Silver Lake opted to convert $600 million of its own equity, of its bond of debt, into equity. So according to the securities filing, the move will lighten AMC's debt load by $600 million. Okay. In return, they issued 44 million shares, resulting in a $284 million boost. Literally, this is bringing AMC out of debt. At the end of the day, that's what buying shares of a company does. It supports its bottom line. Shareholders, large shareholders, the majority shareholders, like that, and they continue to reinvest and continue to hold their investments in the stock. Because the only thing you want is the majority shareholders to leave. That just makes everything worse. So when something like this happens, it's good to take advantage. Like, wow, all right. Well, since it's literally $18 higher than it was before, but it can only, and that's the thing. They want this to happen. These guys want this company to fail more than anything. So unfortunately, because of this, and this is GameStop now. GameStop plunge erases $11 billion as brokers curb trades. So because they were able to, Robinhood, Webull, and other brokerage applications, able to stop the buying of the shares of these companies. They're just tanking them. They're swinging them high and low. And at the end of the day, this will probably be the death nail for a lot of companies that are involved in this. And it's, that's, again, just my amateur take. But, yeah. AOC demands probe after Robinhood app banned GameStop purchases, triggering 90-minute sell-off frenzy. See, the thing is like, I'm not a fan of AOC. However, you support policy and principle, not a person, politician, or political party. So it doesn't matter like who she is. She's right, because what happened was definitely illegal. Representative AOC said she would support a hearing examining stock trading app Robinhood's decision to block lay investors from using the app to purchase GameStop shares and shares of other companies, including AMC, that were promoted on the Reddit message board Wall Street Bets. Let's literally all that happen. Hey guys, you should buy this. Hey guys, you should buy this. All right, we're going to buy this. They bought it, and that hurt short sellers with deep pockets and big connections. And they called Big Daddy Biden. They called their representatives. They called those on MSNBC, CNN, CNBC, and were like, you guys got to shit can this immediately. Done deal. We now need to know more about Robinhood's app's decision to block retail investors from purchasing stocks while hedge funds were freely able to do so as the stock as they saw fit. I guess I forgot to mention, hedge fund managers don't use these apps. These applications are strictly for individuals like you and me who are hoping that collectively we can enrich each other and make all of our lives better. That's the thing. A rising tide, what is it? A sweeping tide raises all boats, or something like that. A rising tide raises all boats. Everyone acting in concert and raising the stock gives everyone else collectively money. If we all buy shares in a stock and the price of that stock raises, the shares that we just purchased, the value of them raises. If we all buy shares of a stock and all buy options from that stock as well, while that stock goes up, the value of those options go up, the value of our shares go up, and we all win. That's how they do it. They just do it the opposite direction. They buy short positions collectively, then get together and make sure you see this, that, and that, and the third, shit on them, dip them, done. And you have cases where sometimes some of these large financial publications lie. Now, that's a different story altogether, because they don't need to lie. All they need to do is sow, not mistrust, sow disconfidence. If they can undermine the confidence of a security, that drives the stock down. People sell, people don't buy, and that's a done deal. Or people don't buy, people sell, and then because people don't buy and people are selling, the stock falls even further. So then people fire sale and sell, bundles at pennies on the dollar. And that's when you see a stock really tank. This is it's wrong. It's wrong. Shortly after Robinhood banned the purchase of the stock, numerous holders sold off their shares, dropping its price from the mid-300s to $196 per share. Done. However, calls from the Redditors to hold the line kept the stock from plunging further, and by noon, GameStop was already recovering as its price climbed back into the 220 range. The stock became a battlefield between Reddit investors and hedge fund managers. Earlier in the week, the collective group of Redditors from the Wall Street Bets subreddit bought the stock as hedge fund managers were attempting to short sell it. Ocasio did not just limit her call to Robinhood. She said any retail stock service allowing sales but halting purchases should be investigated. Inquiries into freezes should not be limited solely to Robinhood. No, and there are also lawsuits being filed against Robinhood as well. But Elizabeth Warren slams SEC over GameStop chaos. You got to have a cop on the beat. She basically just said that there should be somebody to watch this, but it's not for what you think, because she made clear that she wasn't. She basically said there needs to be someone. Didn't side necessarily with hedge fund managers or with the Redditors. Let me see, where did she say it? Warren, a longtime critic of Wall Street, spoke in CNBC's closing bell as individual Redditors took to Twitter and social media platforms to protest Robinhood's curb in trading stocks like GameStop and AMC, but she made clear she isn't a big fan of Robinhood either. Robinhood and similar firms, which offer incentives to join while forcing customers to sign arbitration clauses, don't help create healthy market conditions, she said. Those arbitration clauses protect Robinhood. If it turns out that it really did cheat you, it'll never be made public. There will be very little that you can do about it. And so that's the GameStop, Robinhood, yada yada situation. First 20 minutes of the show. There you go. Right off the bat. You can, those of you who tuned in for this, I'll make sure to put it in the title. You are absolved. You can leave. No, I'm just kidding. Stick around. Robinhood CEO says it limited buying in GameStop to protect the firm and protect our customers. I forgot about that. I forgot about those two things, actually. Yes, Robinhood as a caveat, a PS, post note, and epilogue. Robinhood CEO said they did it to protect their customers, even though their customers are the ones that they restricted from buying the stock. Here's the thing: you have to let people make their own mistakes if they're going to make them, and B, you have to play fairly across the board, especially since you still allowed hedge fund. Here's the thing. Here's the thing I'm kind of unsure of. Did that previous article say that they still allowed hedge fund managers to buy the stock? That doesn't make any sense, because hedge fund managers generally don't use Robinhood to purchase the stock. Anyway, I digress. Because this is an ongoing thing, and so I'm still blah blah blah. But plummeted as dizzying. I'm looking for the article for listeners who are just hearing me like think out loud. Okay, it was on the right. Okay, that's what I mean. Okay, yeah. So the idea, the suggestion when the Robinhood CEO says, "Oh, we did it for our customers," is that customers don't know what they're doing. It's called speculative buying. But it's all speculative. It's all speculative. That's the whole point. Is that these short sellers can speak speculation and hearsay, and in some cases outright lies about a security, and sowing that lack of confidence, undermining confidence, is more than enough. That's misinformation, disinformation, fake news. Yeah. That's how the game works. The whole thing is a fugazi. And now people people are just like, what is this? What's going on? And it's like, yeah. Wall Street is literally like the tail. Like, let's say Wall Street is a Ouroboros. The other end of the tail has whipped around to protect itself. And so from the back end, you're seeing media, you're seeing the individual apps themselves do all they can to prevent the little guy from slaying this dragon for a little while. So that's that. Yeah. Now to the nonsense. Long Island man nabbed for role in deadly Capitol riot. Yes, the arrests keep on coming, and as I see him crop up, I'm just gonna, hey, here's another dumbass. Anyway, so a 27-year-old Long Island man who allegedly participated in the deadly riots at the Capitol was arrested. Tipsters pointed FBI investigators to Christopher Ortiz of Huntington earlier this month, advising that there were screenshots and videos and messages from his Instagram. They all tattled on themselves. Let me rephrase that. They incriminated themselves. They were tattled on. According to court documents, there's audio from his Instagram when Ortiz can be heard shouting, "Onward, onward," as rioters flooded the Capitol building, with Ortiz later shouting, "Yeah, we're at the door," as the crowd breached the building. He says, they can come and get me. I didn't break or vandalize or steal. I walked through and out, he wrote in a message. I'd storm the Capitol any day for you. Gross. When asked what he was doing, Ortiz responded on social media by saying he was participating in government, even going so far as to taunt his potential prosecutors. Ortiz was charged with entering restricted grounds without lawful entry, impeding or disrupting government business, and engaging in disorderly or disruptive conduct at the Capitol. Dumb. Checked by reality. Some QAnon supporters seek a way out. I mean, here's the thing. And I don't know how many other ways I can say it. And I don't know, because I don't know of any other ways to say it, if it's worth continually saying. There's some things that are worth hammering home. The media manipulates things. They manipulate and construct narratives, most of the time false narratives, in order to influence and divide and to earn and gain clicks, which generate profit and ad revenue and stuff like that. It's a money game. It's a manipulation game. We know that. Politics is garbage. Most politicians, if not all of them, don't care about you and generally work for their own solidification of their position. We know that. But like, as far as the election goes, we've been talking about the need to review, revamp, reorder our electoral process for probably longer than I've been alive. The argument to disband and get rid of the Electoral College is an old one. I have a personal gripe with electronic voting. I have since the 2000. Again, the hanging Chad was one thing, but I've had a gripe since the Obama election with electronic voting. Electronic voting, even. All right, I can do this calmly. The problem, well, no, I don't want to make this argument about electronic voting. The point I'm trying to get to is this, is that there are arguments that can be made as far as the 2020 election process and the irregularities that did and were acknowledged to have occurred, as we've covered on this show, article by article. But to become drunk with obsessive zealotry over things that it appears you yourself haven't looked into is dangerous and is a problem. And furthermore, and ultimately my main point, is that the dovetailing of this obsessive belligerent zealotry with legitimate arguments and discussions that could be made is even worse and even more of a danger, because now, through function creep, you are eliminating the dialogue that should be had, the serious and possibly constructive dialogue that could be had about our election system, that needs to be had about our election system. We can point to 2000 and the hanging chads. We can point to 2008 and Ohio. We can point to Florida, okay? Ultimately, Florida leading to the Supreme Court, besides the hanging chad situation, okay? Every election for the last 30 years has been challenged by Democrats if they lost. So it isn't like challenging election processes and results is a new thing. If we remove the bias, perhaps we can see the honesty in the situation and actually address the election issues. But that ain't gonna happen, so let me just read the article and shut the fuck up. AP News reports Seeley Smith spent a year down the rabbit hole of Oh my god, I don't think I want to do this. It's like QAnon conspiracy theory, and I'm not doing this. I just wanted to address how the dovetailing of a serious issue can be dangerous when it's done with ridiculous, and that happens once you commit violence in the name of something, like violence, zealotry. I mean, like I said, like I always say, once you eliminate lines of communication, that leaves, incarceration, ostracization, or elimination, or expatriation. So it's ostracization from the community, from society as a whole, leads to expatriation. People leave the country, they leave their communities, they leave their homes, the places that they've known their whole lives. Because anyway, I digress. A Georgia lawmaker refused. Oh, this asshole, yeah. I talked about this yesterday. This is what I mean about zealotry, unfounded zealotry, baseless zealotry, leading to ridiculousness. I obviously have issues with the vaccines, multiple, all of them. None of these companies have shown themselves to be honest and forthright and transparent in the process, in revealing their data in a prompt time in the case of Pfizer. Um, they're now retroactively investigating AEFI possibility in their vaccination and why it could be occurring. And it's like, really? So you're telling me that your trial data didn't show that? And if it did, why didn't we know? So it's either one or the other. Either you're incompetent or you're complicit in hiding the fact that your vaccination is causing anaphylactic reactions in more people than it's supposed to and that you thought it could. Like, it's one or the other. Are you dumb or are you a thief in the night? Are you a volatile, misanthropic, anti-human? Anyway, let me not go off on a tirade. This guy is dumb. He refused a test. He didn't refuse the vaccine. He refused the test. Bruh, do you stick Q-tips into your ear? You do? Well, it's the same as your ear. It's another orifice. It's a hole, and it's a big Q-tip. But it's pretty much the same thing. This is what I'm talking about. Unfounded, baseless, ignorant zealotry being for listeners, I just did the jazz hands. Being conflated with legitimate questions and a dialogue that could be had where they're not morons like this. And you know what was it? Oh my God, what was it? The Borat movie, the Borat show. Who is America? This is America. One of those two. Where he had the what was it, Kentucky, West Virginia representative who was letting him like slap his ass, and or how about the representative who said what was it, that like the word he was gonna use like homosexuality against his enemies, something dumb. I can't remember, so dumb. Or how about the representative who the guys who did the commercial for kindergartners with guns? Or how about Rudy Giuliani in Borat 2 with an underage girl? Like, these guys are not only detestable humans, they're morons. They're absolutely, they are human. Yeah, they are human. All right. So all right, we're going into Corona. We made it. We finally have gotten to the coronavirus news that I've been procrastinating on. This is how I do my work, mind you. So like I have like this movie review. Never mind. I'm not even gonna go into that. In New York, where we have a lot of nursing homes, a lot of elderly. I have a mother in a nursing home. It was suspected that nursing home deaths were larger than being recorded or being reported, I should say. And that seems to be the case. AP reports that New York undercounted nursing home deaths by thousands. New York may have undercounted coronavirus deaths among nursing home residents by thousands, the state attorney general said in a report Thursday that dealt a blow to Andrew Cuomo's oft-repeated claims that his state is doing better than others in protecting its most vulnerable. The 76-page report found an undercount of more than 50%, backing up the findings of an Associated Press investigation last year that focused on the fact that New York is one of the only states in the nation that count residents who died on nursing home property and not those who died later in hospitals. Since an undercount would mean that the state's current official tally of 8,711 nursing home deaths to the virus is actually more than 13,000, boosting New York from number 6 to the highest in the nation. While we cannot bring back the individuals we lost to the crisis, this report seeks to offer transparency that public deserves. The report from a fellow Democratic official undercuts Cuomo's frequent argument that the criticism of his handling of the virus in the nursing home was part of a political game, and that it was vindication for thousands of families who believe their loved ones are being omitted from counts to advance governor's image as a pandemic hero. So you see what's happening, right? Let's just put it out plainly. Now that we have Biden in office, now that we have a Democratic administration, there's no longer a need to hold the veil of necessary lockdowns. We're seeing in D.C., businesses are being encouraged to remove their boards and open up. We're seeing a reprieve from the lockdown in certain states, certain large cities. We're seeing Antifa. We're seeing a reaction now to violent leftists, let's call it leftist extremists, that have been roaming wild under the Trump administration now suddenly are being hit hard with the hammer and being pepper sprayed and fucking smoked out just like BLM. And everybody's being treated like BLM, right? That's basically what's happening right now. Everyone is being treated equally shittily, and I mean, this is business as usual. This is politics as usual. So, and Cuomo throughout the whole thing has been eyeing. He's definitely had political ambitions. Everyone's been aware of this, and this was going to be his out as a form of New York finally coming to terms with COVID and opening up. It would have been at least, but this is definitely going to besmirch him for sure. And it's very, I mean, and obviously just in general, it's a horrible thing that's happening, where the truth of the matter, a deeply, profoundly disturbing truth coming to light, is not going to really affect him. Trust me. But yeah, I digress per usual. Let me change the font here, because this is just not working. Here we go. All right. So, this guy, backlash grows for selfish millionaire who got vaccine meant for indigenous people. I don't even know what's going on here. A Canadian casino executive and his wife initially fined $2,300 for breaking public health rules. Okay, a millionaire Canadian couple who can't read this because the font is too small. Who traveled to a remote community to receive a coronavirus. Oh, they did one of those. So you know how bankers put their money in Swiss banks? He did one of those. So I didn't even know that was a thing. But yeah, because it's not available for the general population yet in America. Yeah, that's how you do it. I'm adjusting my font again. But I can't say I'm surprised, honestly. Honestly. Wealthy people, that's what they do. They take advantage of their wealth. And here's the thing. And I don't, in their defense, if that's even possible, remotely possible, what would you do if it was like you and your children, right? And you had the capability to fly somewhere to get the vaccine? Would you do it? But in this case, we're gonna shit on him. And he looks way old. But let me not even judge the color. Let me stop. Because she's very pretty. The vaccine intended for vulnerable and elderly indigenous people are facing growing calls for a tougher punishment after they were initially fined $1,800. That's it. Casino executive Rodney Baker and his wife Ekaterina Baker, an actor, traveled by chartered plane to Beaver Creek, a community of 100 in Canada's Yukon, where a mobile team was administering the Moderna vaccine to locals, including elderly members of the White River First Nation. The White River First Nation. At the mobile clinic, the Bakers posed as local motel employees to receive the vaccine. They were detained at the airport, the territorial capital, as they traveled home to Vancouver. The couple were fined for violating Yukon's Civil Emergency Measures Act, but local community leaders argue that the fine will mean little. Yeah, no, it's not going to mean anything. That's... Wow. Ooh. Yeah, I can't. There's no justification for that. This isn't Songbird. You could have just waited. It's not the apocalypse. You could have waited. Ugh. But wealthy people, not surprising. Yeah, that's not surprising at all whatsoever. Dr. Fauci was knocked out for 24 hours with chills, aches, and fatigue after getting his second dose of Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine. Oh no! As we know, as we've read, and as is not really being reported anymore, I've noticed, there have been plenty of adverse reactions. They call them abnormal or adverse reaction. Adverse effects from immunization, AEFIs, according to the World Health Organization. There's been far, far too many statewide and even globally. There have been deaths, even in the elderly. But we really haven't heard too many about Moderna. We do know that facial fillers is something that millions of people get annually, is something that can trigger, or something that does trigger AEFIs from people who take the Moderna shot. So millions of people can't get this shot right now. But Fauci got the shot and everything was fine up until he got the second one, apparently. So he received his second dose, reads Daily Mail. On January 19th, he said he was knocked out by the side effects for 24 hours. His side effects, aches, chills, and fatigue, are common, affecting more than 50% of the participants. He added that he was not sick after the shot, clarifying that he had side effects of the shot and not another illness. All right, that's fine. I'm just, my whole thing about it is, given his age, I feel like that's probably has more to do with it than anything else. But he wants to make it clear this is not anaphylaxis. This was just side effects from the shot. But I just wanted to point it out, Moderna, it still seems to be, for me at least, I consider it still better than the what seems to be the unstable Pfizer vaccination. But, all right, that's cool. All right. In Ohio, some 60% of healthcare workers turned down the vaccine initially. One Illinois veteran's home said that 80% of staff said no way, not until they conduct their study. Moderna and the FDA are looking into AEFI reactions to the Pfizer vaccination, to the Moderna shot. Cool. Do the business. Get back to me with some intel. We can talk after that. Merck ends its COVID vaccine program, cites inferior immune responses. Now, see, that I can appreciate. I'm not saying like, oh my God, I want them to fail. I don't want companies to create a vaccine. But I can appreciate when you do fail. I can appreciate transparency. Financial Yahoo Finance reads, drug maker Merck and Company on Monday said it will end development of its 2 COVID-19 vaccines and will focus pandemic research on treatments, while initial efficacy data on an experimental oral antiviral expected by the end of March. Merck said in a statement it will record a pre-tax discontinuation charge on the fourth quarter for vaccine candidate V591, which it acquired with the purchase of Austrian vaccine maker Themis Bioscience, and V590, developed with nonprofit research organization IAVI. In early trials, both vaccines generated immune responses that were inferior to those seen in people who had recovered from COVID-19, as well as those reported for other COVID-19 vaccines. So they're behind both the natural response and the other vaccine responses. Merck was late to join the race to develop a vaccine to protect against the virus, which has so far killed more than 2 million people and continues to surge in the U.S. Yeah, that's about it. So they're out. Doctors forge ahead to allay fears about COVID-19 vaccines. So they got to get the media campaign. And that's the thing for me. If you're, as a doctor, shouldn't you encourage transparency and information, extensive and exhaustive study, guidelines that do more to prevent harm to your patients rather than engage in what amounts to a publicity campaign? Like, I understand that, because here's the thing for me, I don't ever recall a time where people, because there's always been like anti-vaxxers, but I don't recall a time where a sentiment was so high to not take like the seasonal flu vaccine. It's amazing to me that as healthcare professionals, and really what it is that they're being paid money, but as healthcare professionals, you find it more important to conduct ad campaigns than to try and deliver insight into the vaccine itself. Like, trying to convince people it's completely safe I don't think that's even the smart move. I think people just want honesty, and they know you're not being completely honest because there's still some decent journalism out there, and you can read about the AEFIs, you can read about the investigations, you can read about the concerns that has been put out by both Moderna and Pfizer for anyone who's ever had an allergic reaction to anything. It's not just vaccinations. If you've ever had an allergic reaction, they're suggesting that you not get the shot. And it's like, you know what? I don't, because this is a story. Rice said she understood why some of her Black Americans were weary about vaccines. We're in so many rooms where it's happening. Public vaccinations of trusted figures are among the countless ways that medical schools and hospitals are working to combat skepticism. Yeah, this isn't telling me that they're doing an ad campaign and how is not something I'm interested in. I'm sorry. Moderna CEO offers a bleak assessment of COVID. Virus here to stay with the world forever. Now, how many? That's something I forgot, right? That's something that should be hammered home, and that I will probably end up saying every day. We read here on the show that WHO has already come out and said that COVID-19, more likely than not, they're not trying to just like with Fauci and raising the vaccination percentage bar. Everyone now who's a part of the pharmaceutical or epidemiological or virological industry, that area, that sector of science, they are walking back or walking forward, however you want to see it, their assessments of whether or not COVID's going to disappear. And they're not going so far as to say, yeah, it's going to be here forever. But it's probably going to be here forever. It's probably going to be endemic, is what they're saying. Probably. It more likely than not will be. They can't just outright, just like Fauci couldn't outright say 90% of 300 million people need to be immunized or need to have a natural immunity or be vaccinated in order to incur herd immunity, right? Even if it's not 90%, let's go for the high bar. Let's go for all of humanity, because God forbid we all think about everyone, not just ourselves. 90% of 8 point something billion people, that's not gonna happen, man. What's wrong with you? We can't tell you the truth. You're gonna freak out. So here we are. The WHO said it's more likely than not going to be endemic, right? With seasonal mutations, just like the flu, just like the cold, just like I told you so. And I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. That's the one and only. All right. And now we have Moderna's CEO offering a bleak assessment. COVID-19 virus here to stay with the world forever. Moderna CEO Stephanie, she is a it doesn't matter. Stefan whatever Bancel on Monday trumpeted new data showing his company's vaccine remains effective in battling new coronavirus variants, even as he painted a long road ahead in the war against the pandemic. Now, also keep in mind, it's in his interest to suggest, here's a prime example of sowing confidence. It's in his company's stock price's interest to suggest that this disease is going to be here forever, as he's unveiling new data showing that his company has a vaccine for this disease that's going to be here forever, that can take care of all its different variants, allegedly. That's great for its price. Probably boop, 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 popped it up. What is it? Where am I at? Moderna up 2.45%. There you go. Pop the price. Even though this was 2 days ago, Moderna's been up probably since then. But this is what I mean about confidence. This is all about confidence. This is all a mind game. That's why it's a fugazi, because most of it is a mind game. Most of it is psychological. That's how you have the ebbs and the flows, the crests and troughs within the market that you do, is by market enthusiasm or market what's I'm looking for, trepidation. Fearful investors. How retail investors think, how market whales think, so on and so forth. All right, I really want to go and check the markets right now. I'm so addicted. Anyway, let me finish this up. Almost done. The biotech firm study showed what it called a protective immune response to both the variant first documented in the UK and the variant seen in South Africa. Yet Bancel gave a stark assessment of the pandemic, saying there is good reason to expect a need for ongoing booster shots to protect against mutations that could propagate other variants of SARS-CoV-2, the virus behind COVID-19. I believe SARS-CoV-2 is going to stay with humans forever. We're going to have boosts adapted to a virus like we have for the flu. It doesn't take an epidemiologist, a virologist. It doesn't take a CDC scientist, a PhD. Oh my God, it really just takes like a nerd with a little imagination, enthusiasm, and like an hour to figure this out. So it's just like, come on, man. Fine, we got CEOs saying the stuff I've been saying for a few months now. Well, while the show's been on now, but I've seen it longer than that. But it's cool. It's cool. It's good. It's the same thing. They are both mRNA viruses, and we're going to have to live with it forever. Ta-da! The company announced Monday that it was also beginning a test of an additional booster dose of its vaccine out of an abundance of caution to potentially strengthen the immune response against emerging strains. Bansal noted that while the original two-dose vaccine did in fact preserve a protective response against the South African strain, with neutralizing antibodies diminished sixfold relative to prior variants. Nevertheless, Bansal said, the vaccine still delivered a strong immune response relative to what would be expected in patients contracting COVID, and the company downplayed fears that its vaccine would become ineffective against the newer strains. Let me read that one more time. Bansal noted that while the original two-dose vaccine did in fact preserve a protective response against the South African strain, it did so with neutralizing antibodies diminished sixfold relative to prior variants. So it's not as effective. That's the news. Yeah. I'm reading right now. I'm analyzing right now. This is the first time I'm reading the article. But that seems to be the news. That's what I'm taking for that from this. Besides him suggesting that it's going to be here forever, what I can read from that is that, it works. It's just not as effective as it was against prior variants, which is the fear. This is the fear. This is the fear. So in Songbird, it's COVID-23. I thought it was COVID-54. It's COVID-23. So it's like 4 major variants away. Will there be a COVID-20? God. Who knows? But what we will read about, because Moderna, let's hope they're right. Let's hope they can get it done. Let's hope somebody can get it done, because the UK variant may, in fact, actually be more deadly, despite everything that they had been saying prior. Surprise, they're wrong. Early evidence suggests the variant of coronavirus that emerged in the UK may be more deadly, Boris Johnson, Prime Minister, said. However, there remains huge uncertainty around the numbers, and vaccines are expected to work. The data comes from mathematicians comparing death rates in people infected with either new or the old versions of the virus. The new, more infectious variant has already spread widely across the UK. Mr. Johnson told a Downing Street briefing, in addition to spreading more quickly, it also now appears that there is some evidence that the new variant, the variant that was first identified in London and the southeast, may be associated with a higher degree of mortality. It's largely the impact of this new variant that means the NHS is under such intense pressure. Public Health England, Imperial College London, the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, and the University of Exeter have each been trying to assess how deadly the new variant is. Their evidence has been assessed by scientists on the new and emerging respiratory virus threats advisory group, NERVTAG. The group concluded, NERVTAG concluded there was a realistic possibility that the virus had become more deadly, but that this is far from certain. Sir Patrick Vallance, the government's chief scientific advisor, described the data so far as not yet strong. So, as I always say, we will continue to monitor, but so far it's not looking good. And that's the fear that myself and that anyone really has been worried about. We knew it was going to mutate. Anyone with half a IQ point or two to rub together, and we were worried about a shift in function. And so, like, you would have more aggressive symptomatic expression. You know what I mean? And then a higher mortality rate, right? So something can kill people more without differentiating how it kills people. Does that make sense? Like, the symptoms don't have to necessarily become worse for it to be able to kill more people. That's why I call it symptomatic expression, right? So when it changes how it functions, how it kills people, that's when things really get bad. When you start to see like an increase like we saw over the summer of upper respiratory infections. That's the stuff that scares me. When it changes its function and how it kills you. The fact that it's killing more people, I mean, obviously that's terrible, but I'm just trying to be as analytical and as discerning as possible. The best way to stay alive is to know what's going on. Boop. Surprise. So I'm just trying to sift through it and get as best a grip and understanding on it as I can. So for as far as I can tell, the situation is that we have these two strains that are more communicable, and they're finding that there's an increased in the death rate that it can't be attributable to the normal standards, like really anything. They're finding that suddenly this new strain has emerged and that more people are dying. But they're not seeing any, from what we've been reading, they're not seeing any change in symptomatic expression. So it's still acting the same, it's just killing more people. Still all bad, still all terrible. Yeah, this is just another article. UK coronavirus variant may be deadlier than original strain, health officials say. There's some evidence that the new strain, first identified in England, carries a higher risk of death. I'm just reading about this. There is evidence that there is an increased risk for those who have the new variant. He said that a man in his 60s with the original version of the virus, the average risk is that for 1,000 people who got infected, roughly 10 would be expected to die. With the new variant, for 1,000 infected, roughly 13 or 14 might be expected to die. But he stressed that the evidence is not yet strong because it's just appeared. But it's been like what do you think, like a month and a half, even like 6 weeks or so. So yeah, we will, as this unravels in the new administration, we will get a better. We will have the clearest picture will be at the apex of all of this when the vaccine is supposed to be distributed to the public in the spring, right? I think it's the spring. In contrast to that uncertainty, he said there is growing confidence that the variant is more easily passed on than the original. He said it appears to be 30 to 70% more transmissible. Wow. And it's like, and here we go. She said that so far they haven't seen an increase in severity. This is what I mean. So there's not an increase in severity, but an increase in mortality. Here's the thing. Could it be that the increase in mortality is simply because it can be passed on to more people? Is it being found that more people are dying because more people have it? Because if more people are getting it in a quicker span of time than last year, for example, right? Like if more people are getting it in a quicker span of time than this time last year, and we know that this is a new variant, could it be said that it's merely being passed on to more people, and that's why more people are dying rather than it has a higher likelihood of killing you? I'm just trying to figure it out because is this an ELE, an extinction level event? I just want to know so I don't have to hear hyperbole and read, misconstrued information. So when you hear me think aloud, when you hear me try to piece things, that's the best thing that anyone can do, that we all can do. But let me keep moving because we are coming to the end of the show. UK virus more deadly. Novavax vaccine said it's 89.3% effective in the UK trial. So there are others seeking to address the new variant issue. Novavax said its coronavirus vaccine was 89.3% effective. 27% of people over the trial are 65, so at least they included the elderly. They enrolled 15,000 people aged 18 to 84 and is expected to be used to apply for regulatory review in Britain. The study took place as the more easily transmissible variant was circulating, and it suggests that it was 85.6% effective against this mutation. It's as simple as that. We didn't get any news like that from Pfizer until right before they were okayed. So let's get to Beijing anal tests, shall we? Mass COVID screening in Beijing after 2 cases of the strain found in Britain triggered tests a massive lockdown in Beijing. And COVID tests in your butthole. So let's read this as a finale, shall we? Beijing tests for COVID-19 using anal swabs where virus may survive longer. Beijing reported a 9-year-old boy tested positive for COVID, and his school conducted a variety of tests, including serum antibody tests, nasal throat, and even anal swabs for all of its staff and students, prompting many to wonder if anal swabs could be more accurate. Li Tongzheng, a deputy director in charge of infectious diseases at Beijing Yuan Hospital, said the studies have shown that the coronavirus survives longer in the anus or excrement than those taken from upper body tracts, and for some silent carriers, the virus may be present in their throats for 3 to 5 days, allowing some tests to provide false negative results. Taking the anal swab could increase accuracy in key groups, Li noted during an interview with the China Central Television. However, given that the method is not as convenient as throat swabs, it would only be applied to key groups at quarantine centers. Meanwhile, it's not convenient to have a swab in your butt. Meanwhile, the testing method has been controversial among experts. Yang Zhangqi, a deputy director at Pathogen Biology Department at Wuhan University, told the Global Times that since the virus is proven to be contracted via the upper respiratory tract rather than digestive system, the most efficient tests are still nasal and throat swabs. I'm not an expert, so I can only speculate, but that makes sense to me. But it also makes sense that it can survive in your excrement. I mean, like you can tell if someone's sick by things in their excrement. They can look at a stool sample, but if what we've seen holds true, and that most people are getting it by breathing it in, not by like eating anything. It's not like E. coli or salmonella. You're getting it in your nose. You're breathing it in. It's like it's a coronavirus. Like you don't get the like when they test you for flu and cold, they don't stick anything up your butt. Is this just the CCP playing with its people? Whatever. I'll think about that another time. That is the end of the show. Go, little man, go. Let's root for the little guy, whether it be Wall Street bets or, an individual retail investor like you or me. We live in a society where we are encouraged to not care by people who don't want us to care because it's in their best interest that we don't care. And it's in their best interest we don't get together, because we've seen what happens, both good and bad, when people collectively pool their interests, their conviction, their power. So never, ever forget what you are capable of and what you have been bestowed with as a human being. Now, that doesn't entitle you to kingship over all, but that does entitle you to have respect and awe for what you are. Have some agency, have some pride for yourself. Invest in yourself and each other. All right? Be well to yourself and to each other. Take care, everybody.